I think it's about just establishing these like mini brand personalities and then creating content on campus, creating content like, here's my favorite local coffee shop. When you live here, you're going to walk down the street and have coffee here.
Whether you're developing a new student housing community or acquiring an existing one, fast and reliable internet isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. But when it comes to serving college students, standard telco providers often fall short on both performance and support. Don't risk a frustrating experience for you and your residents. Choose Campus Technologies, a provider with nearly 25 years of expertise in delivering top-tier internet infrastructure and exceptional customer service for student housing nationwide. Beyond high-speed wired and wireless internet, Campus Technologies also offers managed IT services to keep your property management team running smoothly at their properties. Even if you're not currently in the market for a provider, you need to know the best practices for upgrading your property's internet infrastructure. Download their latest white paper today. You can find the link in the show notes or visit campustechnologies.com. Well, welcome to the Student Housing Insight Podcast, where we're putting you in touch with the people who bring student housing to life. I'm your host, Wesley Dees. I'm also the CEO of Student Housing Insight. If you've never heard about Student Housing Insight, we are a platform for off-campus student housing professionals to network, share ideas, as well as data. And you can find out more about the platform at studenthousinginsight.com. In addition to the podcast, we also host the industry's monthly webinar for the U.S. called Shop Talk. Each month, we provide legislative and policy updates that are impacting our industry. Shop Talk also provides a monthly overview of pre-leasing data on a national and a regional basis, along with a few operators that serve as our monthly panelists to kind of give us their on-the-ground view as to what's going on and what they're observing. And we typically provide a topic of the month as well. This month, we're actually going to be talking about P3 partnerships. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure that you join it. It will have already come out by the time this episode comes out. So just go check it out at our YouTube channel. Just go to the playlist for Shop Talk and you'll see all of our Shop Talk recordings there. You could also go to shoptalk.info on your browser, and you'll see all of our information there as well in our previous episodes. So make sure you go check that out at shoptalk.info and register to receive our emails each month so you can get that invite. Well, this week, I've got a special co-host once again. If you didn't check out the last episode, we've got a new co-host, Alexis Krissay. Alexis, how are you?
Good. How are you, Wes?
I'm doing fantastic. It's been a little crazy with flu and strep throat and all those kind of things going through my house, but I think it's finally going to start evening out here, and we had a couple of days last week that were in the upper 70s here in South Carolina. So excited about spring coming around the corner. But hey, again, you joined us as a co-host in our last episode. I know a lot of people may know the name Alexis Krissay and Serendipity Consulting, but for those that may not have caught the last episode, just because you're gonna be a routine face here, I want to make sure everybody knows what you're doing. Just give us a little bit of an intro.
Yeah, sure. So Serendipity Consulting, we've been around for over 18 years, and we really help owners and operators in a variety of different capacities. You know, we love building brands for new devs and then really creating innovative leasing and marketing strategies to help properties lease up. It is our passion. We like thinking way outside the box, doing crazy events, really fun marketing campaigns. And then we also do a lot of on-site leasing training and marketing support. So kind of a variety of different things, but I'm super passionate about student housing. I myself started as an on-site leasing agent. So I get that drive to lease up properties every year.
Well, great. Well, today we're talking about social media. Now, the last episode we talked a little bit about tours, and we had some, some takeaways that came out of LeaseCon that really kind of just disturbed me. I was like, we've got to start talking about tours because I think a lot of folks were out of practice. Something else that came up, from that panel that I had with the student panel that I had at LeaseCon. We also had a lot of questions around social media and how that was being consumed, and there were also other panels that were discussing social media. So I thought it'd be a good time for us to talk about what's new, what's happening, what are you seeing specifically because you're working with properties on a weekly basis on this kind of thing. What are you seeing properties do wrong or not do well enough? Where are there areas of improvement? So let's start with that. What does the current landscape of social media within student housing look like?
Wes, I have to say, I'm shocked that, a lot of my clients and people and properties that I'm like even researching, they are so behind in the social media game, I have to say, which is so interesting because the students that are leasing agents and who we're marketing to are this like digitally grown up generation. I mean,
Yeah,
so a lot of these properties, they're doing an okay job. So they're posting content, they're doing, their TikTok videos and being on trend. But it's kind of this like one-sided conversation, which is really interesting to me, which social media is not supposed to be one-sided. It's supposed to be a two-way engagement, right? Social
yeah.
media. Um, so that's what I've been shocked about is that, they're doing okay, but they could do so much better.
So where are they losing it at?
Well, I think
Let's
it's
talk
just
about
being in
that.
that one-way conversation. So I think properties are expecting their leasing agents to post, video tours and fun videos around the property to build that like creative content, but they're not engaging in conversation, which social media was really meant for. So, I think that we could do so much better as an industry in training our leasing agents on, okay, how to interact on social media because again, these college students, they are used to interacting on their phone as like that primary tool for communication, entertainment, and research. They're on
Yeah.
their phone all the time. They have short attention spans, but they want that like instant gratification from and responses, right?
So I think one of the key thing I'm glad you mentioned, you know, obviously it's got to be something, it's got to be something that's created for mobile because it's a mobile first driven society. I mean, it's not just this generation. I mean, all of us have become that way. And it's amazing to still see some of the things that are just that properties are producing or uh, Lord forbid if it's actually coming from a marketing department
Yeah.
that wasn't built for mobile. You've got floor plans that are like they're not sized correctly and you can't it's I see a lot of stuff that was just quite honestly it was just lazy in my opinion, or feels lazy. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from hardworking people, but there's a lot of stuff that we see that's just lazy, especially when it comes to Instagram. In my opinion, I don't know what
Well, I
am
think
I
it's
am I
just
off on that?
I think, marketing departments are understaffed and overwhelmed. That's where, like, again, we come in to really support and help, like, people be strategic versus just task orientated. And I think that's where it's like, I don't know if it's lazy or it's just like checking the box, but they're not thinking. They're not thinking like, okay, we need to build this mobile first because that's where our audience is. And then it's also like, what content am I putting out that students actually want to engage with and share? If you're posting your floor plans or you're posting rents due or all this boring stuff, like students are just going to scroll. Like they don't care about
Yeah.
that. They're ignoring. They want to see these like funny memes. Again, they want to see personality. I love working with a property where their leasing agents are all on board to be like online personalities. So that really like humanizes the brand or the property. That gets the most engagement. So if you can get your leasing agents to almost create their own mini brand, and they're giving tours and they're just talking about their life, like a day in the life of Gracie, for example. Gracie's taking you through what she does on the property, why she loves it, or just like her personal life. Like that's what they love. I mean, if you see these YouTube videos that kids watch, it blows me away. I mean, they watch people making breakfast and just sit there. It's like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's what they like to see. They like to see the humanization. So that's what we're really, I think, missing. It's just like this, again, check the box, put the content out. Okay, we did social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about creating a trust brand, through social media, because I think that's something that's the main kind of platform that we need to be doing that. And I see a lot of people just not executing on it. Do you have any suggestions? Do you have any thoughts around how you use those tools to really become uh, or to present yourself as a trusted brand?
Well, I think it's about being transparent and being okay to admit your faults. I think some of these operators, it's like, oh my gosh, we can't admit that there was trash in the hallway and the property. You look at the reviews and it's like some people just auto respond, which is so horrible. I think it's about like, admitting, hey, this was a challenge and guess what? We've overcome came it, and we heard
Hmm.
you. I'm working with a lot of properties to be transparent, because if you gloss over it and just fake it, I mean, students will know. Like they have been to the property, or they know when they can spot, someone that is not being true. So I think
Yeah.
it's just about, again, recognizing the fault and just admitting to it, but overcoming it and making sure that you're addressing it. That's how you really build trust with students. And it's hard for people to do that, take accountability.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would put on someone's calendar? If you're putting together a marketing calendar, because obviously there's those opportunities where a mistake was made or whatever, and the apology needs to be posted or an explanation needs to be posted. I get that. Is there anything that you would say on a marketing calendar that needs to be planned? A couple times a month, or maybe once a week, where there's a particular post that's building that trust brand.
So I try to stay like, unless it's like truly there's negative, reviews or responses, I try to stay away from that like negativity. But I think what's cool is just to ask the question, like putting it out there, whether it's like an Instagram live or, um, you know, just content that's asking, like, what do you want to see as a student or a resident? Like, what can we do for you? And then kind of on the flip side, that next week, we heard you and this is what we've done. It's like
Yeah.
showing that, like, again, we are soliciting that feedback and we want to make an impact for the students, and then we actually did it. I think
Yeah.
there's brands that ask and solicit the feedback and then they never close the loop on if they did it or not. And or maybe they did it, but they are not showing it back on social media. So there's that gap, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, would you say hide the comments, or because
No, no,
I see I see that as, I'm a property manager, at a property. I put that message out there on Instagram or whatever, just to say, hey, what is it that, I don't want to send you a survey, but if you're watching this and you, there's something that you wish we would change, or if there's an opportunity for improvement, let us know what it is. And then, for example, the package system in just about every location, I feel like it has constantly got to be improved, because whoever ended up designing it didn't think about all the things that were coming in the mail, and there's always something that just ends up going awry with the package system. And so I could see that being something that would come up, right? Do you allow that to continue to live in the comments?
well, yeah, because
And
again, that's just showing that like you are being transparent. I also think it's
Yeah.
funny to like inject humor because we've done this at a property. And of course, students get like totally crazy and put out like, what would you like to see? Oh, we want limo service back and forth to campus. Like, and then, responding to the comment, like, of course we'd love to do that, but maybe in another life, or, just being real. I think that is the overall message. Of course, if something's vulgar or swearing or attacking anyone, I would definitely remove that comment. But I think it's funny just to like play into it, and then get that banter going. Because again, that's what you want. You want that back and forth conversation on social media. I remember working at a property where I was helping doing social media for a while. And then I went there on move in day. And we had built this awesome relationship with the students back and forth because they were asking questions on our posts. And then when they were moving in, it was so cool to be like, oh, hey, Wes, I recognize you from social media. We've had 10 conversations. And that
Yeah.
just builds that, reputation and rapport with your residents. And then just keeping it going and keeping it alive. Like that's how students communicate today, right?
It's almost that kind of Wendy's type of approach to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Where I ended up, following that account just because, you end up hearing everybody talk about what went viral. And it's not even necessarily the main post. It's something that was said where they responded in the comments. So no, I really love that idea. How important is instant communication
I
on
think
these
it's
platforms?
critical. I think students, if they ask you a question and they don't get an instant response, I mean, they're going somewhere else. It's so crazy. I mean, think about it. If they're used to the like scroll. I mean, I watch even my kids, they can't even watch a YouTube short for more than 3 seconds. It's like scroll, scroll, scroll. So I think it's critical to have someone either monitoring social media at all times. Like I would say someone has a phone, someone is like on it, and then you just pass during the day, like there's shifts, or there's tools like ManyChat that you can set up certain automations where it's that instant response. So there's, which I think is phenomenal, if you can really think through all the questions that you're going to be getting on Instagram or TikTok to have that like scheduled chat or content that they can get.
And now tell me about ManyChat. It sounds like it's maybe an AI, and it's MANY, correct?
MANY chat. And it's really like an automation tool for your DMs. And it's a really cool platform because you can actually log in and manage all of the DMs from the back end as well.
Now is that across Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or
Yes, Instagram,
okay?
Facebook, TikTok. And so you can, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people listening right now have seen on Instagram some of these influencers and they say on their story, like, comment shop for the link to the Amazon store. And, you can do that with comment floor plans and then it'll auto DM you the floor plans. Comment prices and it'll automatically DM you the prices. I like it with specials. Like, for the secret special, comment, you have a funny adjective or something like that that just is engaging, and then the special will be sent out to them. So there's all these different like feeds you can create, but I really like it because again, it's instant and it's like you don't have to be wordy. That's what students don't need, a full paragraph. They're used to texting like with their acronyms and all the different things. So you want to build it that way so they really feel like it's someone real behind the message.
any other tools or anything that secrets that are up your sleeve that you typically deploy at other properties that you're working on?
Well, I'm shocked how many properties don't have like proper equipment to shoot video on site.
No, tell me about
So, I mean,
it.
I love like there's this thing called the Mobi. There's all these different tools like for stabilization and they're cheap. They're less than $100, but you can put your iPhone on it and use it as you're doing tours. So, I mean, you can create high quality video with your iPhone and then just edit it in various different editing tools. Also, like a ring light or some type of lighting that you can utilize throughout the property so your videos look, I mean, they don't want high production videos, but it can just step up the quality a bit.
See, I'm against the ring light.
Really?
I think, yeah, it's not that I'm against light. You got to have light. I mean, I've got a studio in here with about 5 different lights that are, trying to cast shadow so that my face doesn't look as fat as it does, and all those kind of things, right? So you've got to have light, but the ring lights, I feel like, one, if you've got it right in front of your face, you're going to get the little circles in your eyes. I find that incredibly annoying. I would advise against it. I think it's been overplayed, and everybody knows what you're doing. I mean, and I'm not saying you don't need to. I don't know. It seems, how's the best way to describe it? I don't know. To me, it's like you didn't research enough about lighting.
Well, here's the thing is, like, all these content creators, I mean, everyone's a content creator, right? On the site, which cracks me up. There's certain ring lights, and we can link it in the show notes, that I've gotten, that you can change the settings and it's like warm or light. I mean, this is like the filter generation. They want to look perfect at all points in time, right? So I think that, and they, again, if you find the right student, they're already creating content for themselves. So they know what lighting works. They know how to make themselves look great. It's like, it makes them sadly, more confident to be able to produce more content.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
And I have to say one other thing, that I was just chatting with a friend and we were brainstorming just like cool amenities and like, how can we step up our game on property? But, again, like, this is the content creation generation. So I think the more operators can build in like the Instagrammable content creation locations around their property, I mean, students love that. I almost think it's like going as far as putting like a phone stand on the wall so they can take their photos.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard you talk a lot about, trying to make sure that the content is experience driven, versus product driven, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, don't just talk about the floor plans and what specials you're doing, or, those kind of things. And I think for existing communities, that's a lot easier than new development. But I know you work with a lot of new development. How do you capture that from a new development standpoint when you don't have community yet?
Well, I think it's about your exterior community, because you're selling like location, you're selling the university, you're selling, again, the personality. So I think it's more personality focused of, hey, you're going to come live with us as leasing agents, So I think it's about just establishing these like mini brand personalities, and then creating content on campus, creating content like, here's my favorite local coffee shop. When you live here, you're going to walk down the street and have coffee here. I think it's about like creating those personalities so people are excited. Like, when I live there, these are going to be my friends. This is what I'm going to experience.
Would you recommend, as people are signing their leases and, kind of capturing that and getting that out on social media? Or is that, obviously you got to ask for their permission to do that, but is that something that,
I also think
encourage them to do?
Yeah, I would encourage that. And again, everyone's a content creator. So if you can ask that question, like, when people are signing a lease, would you be willing to create some content for us? Because you're going to live here. UGC content is great. These students are getting paid like $200 for their or more for content. So that's just additional opportunity for you to showcase who's living there and then get that buy-in. So if you have a resident that just signs and they love social media and they're big on it, why not ask them to film some videos of like how excited they are and where they're living next year, or, more bringing that personal aspect into it.
Gotcha. So, this has been a good refresher for me, because I don't live in the social media world every single day, both personally as well as from a student housing perspective. I'll go in and check a property, especially if it's a property I'm working with, check their accounts and just kind of see if there's, anything, just, checking what you inspect, what you expect. Right. And, if I go to a market to do some type of market analysis, I'm typically checking out just to see, how involved a property is, how much they're posting. And, just mainly because I want to see if that translates into anything that's happening, in regards to their occupancy or pre-leasing. So mine's more kind of stats approach to it versus how it's making the customer and the prospects feel. So yeah, anything else that we haven't talked about that you would say, hey, make sure you're doing this, or make sure you're thinking about this with your social media plan?
I mean, again, I just think it's like when there's downtime, there can't be enough content. I mean, if you think about how often these students are engaging in their own like social media, they're constant. So I would say like if there's downtime, like bring that personality. They're on social media anyways. Why not be doing it for the property?
Is there really downtime in student housing anymore?
You know, I hope not. I hope everyone's making their calls and, doing their door knocks, and hopefully there's not downtime. But if there is, I think it's like, bring that personality. If they're goofing around in the leasing office, like show how fun it is. Like do it, some TikTok dance or
Yeah.
something.
Well, and I mean, and let's talk about for those properties that just don't seem to find any downtime. I'm thinking specifically of properties that are probably capped out at less than 300 beds. They're not able to employ a large community assistant or leasing agent staff. They don't have those folks to be able to deploy at a moment's notice or take advantage of any kind of downtime. What would you suggest to them as kind of the best tip of making sure that they're putting it on their calendar and they're getting something done? Any tips or tricks for those property managers?
I mean, I would just say think about ambassadors. How can you solicit residents to be your social media ambassador, and have maybe you're giving them like 25 bucks off rent or giving them a gift card or something like that. But, you ask who wants to do this. I mean, this is also, again, they're doing this all the time for themselves. They love it. They would love a job where they get to create content. So I think that is just getting creative, having a social media ambassador and having them come in and be responsible for filming content daily.
Yeah, no, that's so important. And we just announced our own ambassador group here, and that's kind of the key thing. There's some things that they get for being a part of our ambassador program, but it's mainly just a network, right? But part of the obligation for being a part of it, and for some of the other things that we provide as far as access to events and things like that, is producing some content. So I think would you suggest that ambassadorship, or that cohort be pretty wide or very focused
You know,
as far as the number of people?
I mean, again, it's hard to manage all these students. So I think
Yeah.
I would say limit it. I like to suggest like there is a couple social media ambassadors, a couple resident event ambassadors, like give them, bring your residents into the staff environment to get them integrated in the property. So yeah, I wouldn't say too wide, because then it's like at this point, how are they're already overwhelmed in the leasing office. So how are they
Yeah.
managing the duties of all these ambassadors?
Yeah. No, I think that's smart. This year we even because one of the things that we did with our ambassadors, because last year we had 12 of them, and we have 12 again this year, but I kept 6 from last year and said, look, do you want to be a mentor to a new ambassador? And the second year ambassadors didn't have to create content. They just had to help the new ambassadors, decide what they wanted to do and kind of hold them accountable, to time frames and things like that. So that could be one way of looking at it as well. But yeah, I agree. You get too wide, I think it ends up just becoming worthless. So
Yeah, I mean, it's already overwhelming to coordinate all these leasing agents' schedules and everything like that. So again, and I think it's like who's managing those ambassadors? It's almost like you need
yeah.
an ambassador, a lead ambassador to manage all the ambassadors.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's not, and maybe you do that. Maybe, there's one guy or gal that, has got the extra time on their hands that, can do, if you're giving them a discount off rent or whatever the situation may be,
Yeah, and
maybe that is.
like to say is like these are resume builders. And
Yeah.
when you're asking for ambassadors, I think it's really important because some people miss that piece of, hey, want to be an ambassador, but they're not saying, this is a job. This is like an internship. This is as this is perfect to put on your resume.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Alexis, it's been great catching up and getting all this insight from you. Thank you again. Looking forward to our next one. And make it a great week.
Thanks, Wes. Make it a great week.
Also, want to thank our sponsor for this episode, which is Campus Technologies. Appreciate everything they do for making this a reality. And if you're looking at technology upgrades at your property, please reach out to them. We'll have a link below in the show notes, so you can go there and find them as well. And speaking of links, though, I think you've got some things that you're sharing with us as well that we're going to put in the show notes as far as resources and examples, right?
Yep. We'll put the link to ManyChat, some other automation tools, and then some. I know you don't like the ring light, but some ring light and video tools purchase on Amazon.
I would say if you get a ring light, just make sure you've got, I wish I had one in here, but it's in the back of my car right now. But it's got a white filter or whatever you want to call it that disperses it so that you don't get that sharp ring. So that would be my suggestion. But ring light's better than no light. I will say that.
No light. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Alexis. Take care.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.